you've waited a long time for this. Some would say you've waited an entire year, because now it is time for Talk Radio's Plank of the Year. So we've got, from the left, Mr. Will Geddes, Ms. Emily Carver, Ms. Dawn Neesom and Mr. Kevin O'Sullivan. Welcome to Plank of the Year, guys. Thank you so much for sparing the time. We've got a lovely Christmassy set going on behind us. And before we start, right, we're going to go down through the top 20 planks of the year. I just want to tell you how competitive this is by giving you the names of some people who didn't make it, right? Neil Ferguson.
Oh, come
Didn't
on.
make it.
Oh, come on, surely.
Dominic Raab.
What? Rob?
Dominic Cummings. Gavin Williamson, Angela Rayner, Carrie Johnson and Allegra Stratton.
Wow.
Even they were not good enough to make the top 20 planks, so you must
That's
admit.
something.
Tough competition.
So it's a very tough competition. So what we're going to do is we're going to try and get you all to kind of pitch in with some of the ones that you think you hate more than others or you like more than others. So I'm going to kick off with you, Will. So I want you to go with number 20, Priti Patel.
Priti Patel.
Yeah.
Well, I can't say too much about Priti. Priti's, I think, doing as good a job as she possibly can, Mike. I think she's having a tough time
Which isn't good enough.
dealing with the immigrants,
No,
dealing
thank God
with
she's not doing a bad job.
the
'cause I
lack
don't know
of
what that would look
police
like.
and everything else. I think she's inherited an awful lot on her plate, and she's got quite a lot that's overwhelming her.
Yeah,
Can I put it that way?
Well, you can do. The reason, Emily, I would say that she's here is because she's made so many promises. I don't know where we would begin. She's promised to stop the migrants crossing. She's promised to get the French to be paid money to stop the migrants crossing. She's promised to go to France to talk to the French about stopping the migrants crossing. She still hasn't managed to stop the migrants crossing.
Yeah, I mean, did she not after last summer, well, the previous summer, say, that's it, I'm doing something about it. And then we had, about 3 weeks of record numbers each day, more migrants crossing
I think you're being a little bit
than
unfair. A little bit unfair because it's only been an 8,700% increase in the last 3 years. I mean, it can happen.
Just going to throw that stat out there.
That happens.
She's running a very good RNLI taxi service for the migrants to come in. It's a very nice service.
She's come up with some really good solutions for it, hasn't she? I mean, the
Has she?
Falklands was particularly
Yes.
impressive. Put them on the Falkland Islands.
Rwanda, I thought, was an interesting one.
Yes.
I like that one.
You know,
that works.
Yeah, let's send them all to Rwanda.
Yeah.
Okay, then.
Yeah.
That
Albania.
sounds-
What was it? Albania. Oh, no, Albania, yeah.
You name it, she's
I'm
tried
only
to send them there.
She seems to be confusing the places she wants to send them to the places where they're actually coming from. I mean, they're coming from Rwanda and Albania. They're not going to want to go back there, are they?
Or if they're from Albania, send them to Rwanda and vice versa.
Well, exactly.
Yeah.
right.
By the way,
Immigrant swap.
her big solution to the whole problem is her borders and immigration bill, which quietly passed through Parliament the other day and has made no difference at all. It's 56 pages long, and I haven't read it, but experts I know who have tell me it will not make a blind bit of
But the
difference.
thing
Is
is,
that
the
because
most
of the
plankish
French?
thing was, though, did you not read the headline the other day that said that they'd spent £20,000 on Domino's deliveries
Yes.
to the hotels where the migrants
No,
were being
it gets
kept up?
better than that. It gets
And there
better
was a
than
cheaper
that.
pizza shop just down the road.
It's the RNLI in Dover. They had expenses of £7,000 for pizzas. But my favourite thing was also sun hats.
Sun hats.
For the migrants.
in Dover?
Because they're a bit sunburnt.
In Dover.
Well, you know, this time of year.
It's a sun hat for what the hell?
But I think we can't put it all on British shoulders. I think we've got to look at the French, who are literally not stopping it.
Plus,
Just
we
We don't have
let
the
them cross.
French on the plank list, do we?
No, they didn't
They
make
should
it.
have.
Maybe.
I mean,
They should have
The
made
trouble
it.
with that, Will, though, is I think obviously there's a lot in what you say, but this is Priti and the British government's first default setting is to go, it's not our fault, it's the French. Well, the more we blame it on the French, the less we'll get anything done, because the French will never do a damn thing to sort this out, because they think it's good when migrants leave France.
Of course they do.
Are you saying we should be nice to the French?
No. There's just no point in saying the French have got to do more, because they won't. So either Priti and the gang get to grips with the problem, or it will never be solved.
Okay, but then we've got the RNLI thing, and I don't think it's very fair to give them a harsh time.
Yeah, it is.
Well,
Yeah, it
they're
is.
lifesavers. They're
No,
lifesavers.
well,
Taxi
saving
service.
people's lives means
Okay, it turns
you're
into
saving
a taxi
somebody's life
service.
whose life is in danger, i.e. they're in the water.
Yeah.
They're not saving people who are in the water, they're saving people who are on boats.
That are on the water.
What are they going to do next? They're going to turn up on one of the ferries and start rescuing people off the ferry and go, why don't you come with us? Be
Apparently
easier.
the system is
You
they
know,
get to a
they
mile
don't
off
need
the
rescuing.
coast, and then they whistle
You know.
for a taxi. Taxi! Taxi! Oh,
sorry.
Punch to the
You have
boat.
to redefine-
Punch to the boat.
Well, you're going to be
redefine-
plank of the year at this rate.
Yeah, thanks, Emily.
I mean, you know, there's air sea rescue, right? They rescue people who are in the sea, who might have fallen out of the air.
Yes.
They don't rescue people who are on boats, which are
They
perfectly
do,
viable.
boats that are sinking.
Yeah, but they're not sinking.
So
That's my point.
heartless.
Well,
I'm not heartless. I mean, many people have described that before. Anyway,
Oh, the
Priti
next
Patel.
one. Next one is good.
Priti Patel, number 20. The next one, Humza Yousaf.
Humza Yousaf.
Now, you sound like you know something about Humza Yousaf.
Well, he's the health secretary now in Scotland.
He is.
But he was the justice secretary, was he not? Mm-hmm. And he wanted to put through a bill on free speech, I think that actually did pass this year, that would ban, well, essentially if you say something offensive or a hate crime at your own dinner table.
In your own
family.
Family.
With your family. He tried to criminalise speech
actually,
in your own home.
It was encouraging children to grass up their parents.
Yeah, exactly.
Which, of course, if you didn't like your parents, you would, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
You'd just get on the old Humza hotline and go, my dad just called somebody a bad name, and then they'll send around the boot boys. You know. But also, he also appeared on this because of that ridiculous piece of video that you might have all seen. Where he got on an e-scooter and he decided that he would have BBC Scotland film him because he was trying to look cool. And then he got about halfway down the corridor and just completely fell off it. And it was hilarious.
And then he got angry, didn't he, for it being posted?
And then he had a go at them for posting it after asking him to film it.
He put in a law to ban people from posting things like that. I mean, Scotland is the banning capital of the world.
It's gone mad up there.
They ban everything. So, you know, they ban smacking your kids. So I was thinking about setting up this business. You could, just south of the border, somewhere like Berwick.
Send them over.
Where you could have a building and Scottish parents could bring their kids south of the border for the day, knock them about a bit, and I'd charge them a fee, and then they go back up to Scotland after that.
Yeah.
So you're volunteering
This is why
to
Kevin's not a
beat
parent,
Scottish
obviously.
children up?
No, you idiot. The parents come down with their kids,
So
and
you're
the
gonna
parents
charge
beat their kids about.
We're only on the second one, Mike. It's getting out of hand already.
Beating up Scottish children already.
No, you don't even listen.
Don't
It's
start
for the
getting
parents.
Don't
It's a
start getting
service.
shirty.
I charge the
You'd have to
parents
verify.
to come to my centre.
All right.
So what do you charge, Kevin?
All right.
I think
I don't think.
£100
I don't think he's expecting.
Depending on how many hours you want to be.
I don't think he's really expecting you to take him seriously here. Time to move on to Gary Lineker.
Special
Gary
VIP
Lineker.
Where do we start with Gary Lineker?
Where do you want to start with Gary Lineker?
Where do you end?
Well, this is the same year, don't forget, that he housed the refugee.
Yeah, I know. Which he kind of had to, because
Who we've still never seen. We've never
But it
seen.
went very quiet, didn't
Well,
it?
he
Has
said.
he got a Wendy house at
Well,
the
he
end of
produced
the
he
garden?
produced that great letter, didn't he? That the refugee wrote to say that he was much less conservative than he thought he was going to be. And everybody went, really? What? Is that what he wrote? The guy that just come here from Eritrea or whatever it was,
in perfectly good English.
And he never took a picture of him either, which surprised me
No.
because Gary Lineker likes to put up pictures of himself all the time.
It was quite selfless of him to publish that letter, though.
It was, yeah.
Look, here's the thank you letter I got
Yeah.
from the migrant that I really looked after because I'm such a great guy.
And he does continue, despite the new BBC rules on tweeting, he still does manage to continue to tweet out about political issues quite regularly.
Yeah.
But for me, it's all the stuff over the footballers and the taking the knee and the absolutely everything is racist.
Yeah.
And of
But he doesn't
course
want going to Qatar, though.
No, exactly.
He
There's
is going to
hypocrisy
Qatar,
there.
but under duress.
Yes.
Under
well,
duress.
And under £1.4 million from the BBC,
Yeah, exactly.
obviously.
Yeah.
you
It's
know.
not. That's again not my definition of duress, though.
Oh, yeah, did he not say that it's not theirs? It's not footballers' place to, speak up on political issues. It's not for them to condemn Qatar. But then he's very happy to push them to be political and everything else.
Oh, yeah.
When
Taking
it
the
suits
knee's
him.
fine,
Yeah, taking
okay.
the knee's fine,
Yeah.
but certainly don't talk about Qatar. That's not their place.
You can say what you like about him. He was damn good in the air. Actually, he wasn't. He was
Actually, he
rubbish.
wasn't.
I was just going to say that, but,
I mean, to be fair to him, he does admit that he wasn't that great of a footballer. Because,
was a good striker.
He was,
He wasn't
but he
very
was a
good in the
good
air.
goal hanger. He was a good goal scorer, but he was never that great of a
He never got
footballer.
sent
He was a good
off. He never
footballer. He
got
was a
sent
good
off. I
footballer.
mean, he's a good, clean boy.
He's a good
Really?
footballer.
Allegedly.
Yeah.
And it all changed.
I don't think you want to go down that road.
I'm not going down that
No,
road
I
ever.
don't think you should.
Allegedly.
All right. So, Dawn, we need you to kick us off with one now. How about
Right.
COP26, number
Oh,
17?
COP26, right, OK. As we all know, this happened in Glasgow and we had thousands of people flying in on private jets. And President Biden popped in as well with an 84-car motorcade,
Yeah.
which then needed charging up at the petrol stations. And the electric cars they didn't have enough generated charging points. They had to let loads of generators in for them. So it was an absolute complete lesson in hypocrisy and achieved absolutely nothing.
I must admit, even I was quite surprised at how useless it was.
It was beyond
it wasn't good. I
useless.
knew it
It
wasn't
was.
going to be that great, but for the first thing, they didn't actually finish it on time.
No.
And they had to overrun. And everybody went for 3 days, and then they all left again. and then they just left the teams behind of other people.
I couldn't
Are you
understand
surprised if it was useful? There wouldn't have been 26 of them, would there?
Well,
quite.
Now there's going to be a 27th.
In Egypt.
In Egypt.
And
An
20,
inverted square of
In fact, the only thing...
piffle.
the only
28
thing-
already in the Middle East is planned.
Well, the only thing
How
that,
hopeful are they?
well, the only thing that they could actually achieve was to make a plan to make COP27 in Egypt. So,
Which is what they do every year.
which is what they do every year. But also, you know, when you see people like Alok Sharma, was it Alok Sharma?
Yeah, crying.
Oh, yeah.
At the end of it.
Achieve everything I want to.
I mean, seriously? I mean,
And also, as much as I'm not a fan, I was surprised Greta Thunberg wasn't allowed in, and she was protesting out in the
but
streets.
that's what I
outside. You would have
couldn't
thought she would be a...
but she
is the
wasn't.
whole point.
She wasn't in favour of it, was she?
But I don't understand the
Blah, blah.
dynamic of everything going on up in Glasgow. So you've got the protesters going, save the planet, climate change, oh, terrible, terrible. Inside, they're all going, climate change, terrible, terrible. What's the difference between the protesters and the delegates?
Exactly.
They're all shouting the same damn thing.
Well, it's because they would have woken up Joe Biden
Yeah.
because he was having a good few snoozes.
As was Boris Johnson. Stop right
I
there.
think that's probably right. I think that's probably right, which leads us very nicely into Extinction Rebellion. Remember them? They come in at number 16. All of these basically have got a number of points that have been added in. When the reason this will become apparently important is because at the moment all of these are in their 20s, which means they've got points for being on all sorts of different top 10 lists. So
Actually, they're tied.
But Extinction Rebellion haven't really been anywhere or done anything for quite a long time.
They've been superseded, overshadowed
Well,
Yeah.
by Insulate Britain,
Friends,
who will get
Ulster Britain.
who we'll get to later, because Insulate Britain make Extinction Rebellion look quite calm, don't they?
Yeah.
Well, Extinction Rebellion were so fed up with Insulate Britain, but they got rid of them. They don't want to, they distance themselves. They don't want anything to do with them because Insulate Britain is so nutty.
Yeah.
Even Extinction Rebellion and their pink boat, wasn't it a pink boat there in the middle of Oxford
Yeah,
Street?
Oxford Circus, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, you know, they think they're too nutty.
No, I know.
Extinction Rebellion are almost... They did... What did they... They climbed up a power station at one point, though, didn't they? I
They
think?
did that quite recently, didn't they?
Yeah. Obviously, involved in all of this, neither China or Russia were anywhere near COP26.
Yeah.
And Extinction Rebellion never actually go on target the Chinese or the Russian
No,
embassies.
maybe they don't know where they are.
No.
But this is why Alec was so upset, because, of course, right at the last minute, China and Russia swooped in, or was it China and India, or Russia and India,
Yeah.
swooped in and said, actually, we won't get rid of coal.
No.
Yeah, well, they wouldn't.
We'll phase it down.
You'll phase it down.
Nobody knows what that
Water it down,
means.
phase it down.
As we speak, China are currently building 26 new coal-fired power stations.
Wrong. They're building 300.
That's just
300?
today.
We've got 1,082.
As we speak, though, as
they're
we
building,
speak.
No, they're
Literally
building
as we speak.
it's
As we speak,
300.
now. No, this minute.
300.
No,
300.
All right, you two. I've told you before.
Are they always like this?
Yeah, this is why I had to separate them. I had to separate them in the early part of the year.
I am, yeah.
Well, I'm not prepared to put up with this information.
No, exactly right. That would be wrong. So, okay, number 15, the European Union. Remember them?
I do remember that.
Only 15?
Yeah.
I mean, Ursula von der Leyen
How
has
long you
proven
got?
herself to be, well, a little bit of a dictator, has she not?
Has she not? Yes, absolutely right. Well, look at what they've done this year, right? First of all, they tried to make out that all the vaccines were in some way ineligible for their use.
Yes.
Because there was something wrong with them.
Yes.
Then they decided to march into the manufacturing base, did they not, in Belgium, of the AstraZeneca jab, to inspect it, to see
that's
whether or not they were doing all the
they were
right
stopping
things.
the lorries as well,
Yeah,
weren't they?
and then they were telling them that they wouldn't let them actually export the vaccine to the UK, even though it was us that had paid for the vaccine to be made there.
Yeah.
I mean, they behaved appallingly this year, even worse than the year before when they tried to stop us leaving.
They're never going to forgive us, are they?
No.
They will never forgive us.
They will never
They're going to
forgive
be
us.
bitter forever.
And my favourite thing about it, going back to the migrants thing again, though, is, you know, building sort of like fences and sending armed guards to the Polish-Belarus border to stop the migrants crossing into Poland. That's fine, you're allowed to do that.
Yeah,
But
because they're
as
the
soon
wrong
as
kind of migrants.
As soon as we try to stop that, oh, you're racist little Englanders, it's like, same thing, really,
Yes.
but no.
Yeah, I love
I
the way
can't
that
believe
we don't put any soldiers on our own borders, but we did send British soldiers to the Belarusian Polish border to help them. It's ridiculous. But, you know, it's falling apart, isn't it? I mean, you've got Viktor Orban is now saying that the migration problem is going to literally unravel the EU. So you've got Russia, or rather France and Germany at the centre of it, saying, you know, the project is still up and running, but you've got
project's
Italy,
knackered, isn't it?
Spain,
Yeah.
Greece, all the Easterns are fed up to the back teeth.
You've got Ursula von der Leyen, well, saying in front of the whole of, I don't know, her commissioners and everything, saying that every country in the EU should think about having mandatory vaccinations.
The thing is that, what I think's
Kev's just going to mansplain to you.
No. She used the expression, we may soon reach a point where we need, the 28 European countries need a conversation about mandatory vaccines. What did Boris Johnson say?
He repeats
we
that.
may soon reach a point where we need it. So it's almost as if they get together to decide the phraseology.
Who's going to say it first?
The phraseology.
Yeah.
It's kind of weird.
We now move on to number 14, 25 points, Emmanuel Macron.
Seamless link. Seamless
They're
link.
all seamlessly linked.
Yeah, are seamlessly linked. Well, they're all planks, that's why.
He's eating, yeah.
Well, this goes back to Emily's point about being a bit fishy, doesn't it? I mean,
Yes.
this is a very, very small man.
Isn't it
with a very
quite
big
strange
opinion
as
of
well?
himself.
Isn't it quite strange as well that old Barnier, Michel Barnier, who was in the European Commission, very much anti-Brexit, very much anti-England and Britain, seems to be now running against Emmanuel Macron on a sort of Brexit ticket.
Yeah.
Yes.
He's now changed his mind completely.
Brexit.
Yeah, he's changed his mind completely.
Yeah.
Also, I love the fact that he's so duplicitous as well. So at one moment he's being perfectly charming to Boris Johnson, the next minute he's calling him a clown.
You know, he's just a nasty little piece of work. He's never going to like us. I mean,
he's a bit like François Hollande.
Yeah.
Just a nasty little bookkeeper.
Yeah. I mean, the irony is that the French originally wanted us nowhere near the common market, the original EU, and they tried to block us for years, and now they're having a go at us for leaving. But it's also capable, though, of spotting one solo British trawler in French waters, but missing 500 migrants a day in dinghies flooding across.
Well, they also
How
managed
to do that?
Yeah.
They don't miss them, they just watch them go
Au
past.
revoir, au revoir.
Enjoy Britain.
Yeah. But
Say hi to Kent for me.
But I mean, if Macron doesn't win, right?
Yeah.
Does that change anything? Does it mean that we'll have a better relationship with the French?
Even more far right coming into France. If once Macron's out, he's not going to last.
But it's Monsieur Zemmour.
That's the chap.
That's the chap. That's the
Zemmour,
chap.
who got attacked the other day when he was at one of his rallies. Did you see that?
No.
They did, yeah.
And some lunatic in the crowd got him in a bear hug. Awesome work.
Really?
Yes.
Yeah, but
He's
Macron
like the
needs to
French
kick up the
equivalent of
side.
Trump, isn't he?
Yeah,
Was it also this year that he got slapped? Do you remember that?
Oh, Macron, yes.
yeah.
He went over to greet the
When he went to greet
crowd.
the crowd, and this guy just
how can you
smacked him.
resist?
Which I thought was great. Do you
But he
remember
got very upset, didn't he?
he didn't like it.
Well, he's
Got very
a little
upset.
fella, isn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He is a little
You
fella.
shouldn't hit small people.
But they all tend
really.
to be, don't they, the French presidents?
Yes.
Yeah.
They're not known for being tall.
No, you had Sarkozy
Right.
and the
Napoleon was
rest.
pretty.
Isn't he under house arrest or something now?
Sarkozy, exactly, for tax evasion,
Yeah,
isn't it?
yeah, I think
Allegedly.
No, there's nothing alleged about it. No, he's been
Carla
done.
Bruni's still knocking out the album, so
Yeah.
apparently.
Well,
But obviously, he completely lost his, threw all his toys out the pram over that letter, wasn't it? That the
was
Prime
that?
Minister sent
Remind
him,
me.
or he sent the Prime Minister.
Yeah,
I
it
can't
was
get
the-
my facts straight here.
Yeah, we sent the French a letter, didn't we?
Yes.
And we published it before the French even read it.
Yes, and he got very
A
upset.
bit upset
Oh, this is
about
But
that.
Boris's
then he does
letter.
all his diplomacy over Twitter, but he
Yeah.
got his knickers in a twist over that.
Yeah.
So, yes, he's...
When you say diplomacy, it's like it's a bit of a moot point.
what's the French word for diplomacy? Mike?
I don't think I'm allowed to say
Diplomatique.
Good stuff. That's a good
Anyway,
Almost
screw that.
certainly.
That's a good try.
It's a good try. All right, how about Jacinda Ardern? This is
Nasty Jacinda.
Kevin's favourite woman. He's nominated her many times for Plank of the Week. 29 points for Jacinda Ardern. She's still, even now, making headlines. I think the latest one
Oh,
this
God,
week.
the latest one.
The
Latest one.
smoking, social engineering, nanny status.
Yeah.
Oh, I
Let's
didn't see
ban
this. What's
smoking.
this?
That
But we're not
everybody-
going to just ban smoking. We're going to make it impossible for you to
Well, so-
buy cigarettes.
Smoker's
Right.
generation.
It's that everyone now who is under the age of 14
Right.
will be banned for the rest of their lives from buying cigarettes.
What?
So even if you're 13 now and in 10 years' time you're 23, you're not allowed to buy cigarettes because exactly.
How could she
exactly.
even enforce
In
that?
a few decades, you'll have an 86-year-old having to buy cigarettes for their 85-year-old
behind the
mate.
bike shed.
Yeah.
She's the world's worst world leader. And do you remember her? It was a couple of years ago. Her policy. She actually came up with the policy of happiness before the economy. So she said everyone has to be happy, and if that means the economy doesn't work very well, so be it.
What does
Well,
she
let me
do?
tell you,
She
if the
assumed-
economy doesn't work, people won't be
But don't you
happy.
What is it?
Remember.
Magic mushrooms on the National Health
knowing
Service or
her,
something?
But she was the darling of the world's elite, liberal elite.
Oh,
wasn't
they
she?
all, yeah.
Everyone thought she'd be
Well,
so
this was when-
fantastic
yeah.
when she wore the hijab
Yeah,
and
yeah.
everything,
Oh,
and
God,
she was,
yes.
she was going to be the next. I don't know. Queen Bee of the
Mother
world.
Teresa.
Mother Teresa,
as well, wasn't she?
But I mean,
Whether or not she had a baby, which I thought was
But all the
strange.
Kiwis I know hate her.
Now she's saying, like, COVID restrictions will never end almost, is she not?
Yeah.
Mandatory vaccinations, locking people out of the country.
Yeah.
What else has she done?
She said at one point to the assembled press that only information that comes directly from the government should be believed.
Well,
you should not listen to any other
That was quite a scary talk, wasn't it? That press
only we know the truth.
It's really
She doesn't quite get
nice.
it. She was up when she brought in vaccine passports. She was asked, "Well, aren't you?" So she basically said the unvaccinated will have to stay at home and they can't go to shops and things like that. And she was asked by the TV interviewer. He said, "Well, aren't you? Isn't that kind of a medical apartheid? You're creating second-class citizens."
Yeah.
And she went, "No, Jacinda, that's not good."
And he can't even have a smoke and watch Jeremy Cole.
Yeah.
No.
At least she's honest.
She's got a hell of a lot of teeth as well.
She has.
She's got thousands of teeth.
Which is enough in itself, Kevin.
The scariest thing.
That's why I don't like her. It's the number of teeth.
The horse teeth.
Oh, yeah, apart from that, everything's fine. But the scariest thing she's done this week is to announce that she's setting up a fund for government-sponsored journalism.
That was this week's
What?
thing.
That was
wasn't it?
chilling.
so messed
That
up.
was particularly chilling. So the only information that you're
Well, it works for
allowed
the
to
BBC.
read...
So filter.
Well, you know, they've got a model.
We're
They've
coming
got
to
a
them,
model they
aren't
can
we?
follow.
We're coming to them.
Eh? Yeah, we are.
But, I mean, that was seriously worrying. So
I
the
know.
only information you're going to get as a New Zealander who's locked into your country for the past 2 years is sponsored by
The other one-
Jacinda Ardern and her teeth.
Yeah, the other one that I hated was when she came out and said that she wanted everybody to stay indoors and she didn't even want them to talk to their
Talk to their
neighbours.
neighbours.
Don't talk to your neighbours. Yeah. I mean, you were just kind of going, what?
But it's so funny how these so-called liberals have become the most illiberal people in the world.
Yeah.
And also, she was
It's
also the
almost like they've got
focal
an
point.
agenda.
It's almost like that. She was also the focal point of all these people, many of them men, who said, "Oh, wouldn't it be better if the world was run by women?"
know, God's
And you
sake.
just go, "Oh, do shut up."
Actually,
You
but that
know.
was a really... I just want to say it's a really...
Dawn's like, actually, it would be.
Yeah,
but
that was
if it
really,
were me,
really-
Well, some women, maybe.
What's your thoughts
Certainly
on
not Jacinda Ardern.
Fine by me.
That was a really good impression of Skippy the kangaroo, I just got to say.
Thank you very
Yeah.
much indeed. Skippy's got fewer teeth than Jacinda Ardern, I'll tell you that. Right, now, speaking of female leaders, Nicola Sturgeon comes in at number 12, 31 points.
Janine.
Well, you're
I mean-
into spanking Scottish people. Go on, go ahead.
I found it
See,
funny.
somebody's got to laugh at your jokes, I guess. It might as well be you. Nicola Sturgeon. I mean, I don't know where
You know,
to start.
we
don't know where
Vicky
to begin,
Cranky.
do you?
She is, as I say, she's the sort of Queen of Scotland, which is the epicentre of world banning. Bans everything, nothing works. Look at her now. You know, she's talking about another lockdown, the great success of their vaccine passport system, which has resulted in them
infections
having
up 41%.
Yeah.
41%.
She puts a levy onto alcohol to stop people drinking, so heroin deaths go through the roof.
It's
Also,
Nothing
sorry,
she does, it works. She's a disaster.
you'll never stop people in Scotland drinking. It's not going to happen. You can put
No,
as
of
much
course
tax on it as you like. They'll just steal it.
and
You know, they don't care.
exactly.
You know,
It's gonna
I
be
can
like-
say that because I've lived in Scotland.
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
haven't
And I think
taken
there's lots of
this
nice traditions about Scotland. It's lovely to go up there and taste the local produce and the heroin and everything like that. It's really nice. I think it works well.
Well, there was actually a heroin shortage. They were using it so much they ran out of it
But it is
during the lockdown.
It is officially, isn't it? It's the
A
worst.
heroin shortage. That was worrying in
That was.
Scotland, I'll tell you.
It's got the
They were
worst.
very worried about
But they
that.
have. I mean, they've literally shut down the entire hospitality business
Yeah.
in Scotland.
Yeah.
It's ruined, and it's probably never going to recover.
No.
There's going to be huge swathes of unemployment
Yeah.
up there, and I mean, everything she does, she needs money from us. So whenever she talks about, oh, we're going to do our own version of that, you go, well, only if you're going to get the money from the UK government.
Well, this is the thing, isn't it? I mean, you know, being serious for 5 seconds, she hasn't done the maths on independence in any way, shape, or form.
No.
It's just not financially possible.
She doesn't talk about
But
independence
she doesn't.
much.
No, she doesn't.
Not these days.
She doesn't talk about the finances of it. That's for sure.
No,
The
exactly
Treasury
right.
already gave her 8.6 billion for
I think we
COVID-related
should ask for it back.
measures.
We
how
get
long
12 billion a year as well.
How long do you
Really?
think it's going to be until she bans, you know, the English from crossing the border again?
Well, she
because of
tried to do that
Omicron?
at one point, didn't she?
Well, yeah. Well, she basically did she not? Because people weren't allowed to leave
Because we were going to spread COVID up there or something.
She wants to
Something like
fully
that. We had a
reconstruct
I
Hadrian's
was going
Wall.
to say, let's just build a wall. That's a really good idea.
But I think that was 2020.
Yeah, but she should remember why Hadrian's Wall was built. It was built by the Romans to keep the Scots out, not to stop the English from going to Scotland.
Well, that works for me.
Yeah, that's fine with me too. All right, number 11, your favourite, Kevin, Joe Biden.
I'm serious. I'm serious. I mean, Joe Biden is shaping up to be the worst American president ever. I mean, it's an absolute disaster.
That's quite an achievement as well.
Yeah.
There's been some pretty awful ones.
Well, he did only get the job because he's not Donald Trump, basically.
Yeah.
Well, that's right. That's why people.
Don't we love to be proven right?
Yeah, well, yeah.
All the time.
He hasn't finished yet. Give him time.
But he was voted in because he wasn't Donald Trump, and Donald Trump's going to get voted in because he's not
Joe Biden.
Joe Biden. Oh, Donald is circling, isn't he? And I mean, the first thing, that thing, build the wall down at the south border, which I know quite well, having lived quite close to there. It's a bit of a crazy idea to say, let's build a wall down 4,000 miles of a border. But the principle is not stupid.
Well, they've got a fence already.
And the first thing that Biden did when he came in was he said, no, the wall goes down and everybody can come in.
Oh, and
now you literally in the southern border towns, you have a humanitarian disaster going on because tens of thousands.
Is it 21,000 a day?
Are coming over every day.
I mean, we think we've got problems.
Loads of kids without their parents, and they're all being put in sort of horrific kind of tanks. It's
but there's no processing at all. It's
absolute catastrophe.
Well, has he not reversed on that now? After seeing what happened?
I tell you
now
what,
he's putting up the fences
he's a little shrewder than that. Give him some credit. I'll tell you what he's done. He's put Kamala Harris in charge of it. So she's going...
Is that why we haven't seen Kamala for as long as we have? She's just vanished.
So she has to go to Guatemala and go, don't come in, stay where you are. So she looks like the fascist of all time.
But I mean, Kamala Harris has been missing ever since she's been vice president. You know what really annoyed me was that the whole Joe Biden situation with Afghanistan, how they messed up so much. I mean, leaving people there to die, the women and girls in particular, and Kamala Harris is a big feminist defending women's rights. Didn't say a word, not a damn word. Then they left £85 billion worth of equipment there as well.
That was incredible.
You know
a thing about
the whole thing was just a joke because what America was providing a lot of the infrastructure support for the military down there, and those contractors were told, we're not going to be able to provide you with any more support. So literally they pulled out. So the supply chains and support for the military had gone. So the whole thing dominoed out. That's why they all pulled out suddenly.
Absolutely terrifying, so I'll never forgive him for that.
So he's got the lowest presidential rating after the amount of time he's been in ever. And Kamala Harris, literally 100% is the least popular vice president in American history.
Ever. She's even
She must be the most over-promoted person.
Yeah, I think so, her, apart from Bernie Grant.
She's clearly her problem
Haringey Council.
And then the latest one by Biden was to remove the tax relief for student loans as well. So that's all been...
you don't have to pay the loans back. So, people in America are going, what?
Yeah.
He's
got a $1.2 trillion recovery rescue scheme that's basically un-American.
Yeah.
Americans don't like being helped like that.
No.
So he's got massive opposition from the Republicans in Washington, so he's becoming dysfunctional. Plus, the fact the guy's senile.
And he falls asleep all the time.
He
falls upstairs.
He keeps saying that he is going to stand again, and I think I'm right. If he stands again, he wouldn't win. He would be 80. He'd be 86 by the time he finishes. 86.
Ridiculous. Anyway, listen, we need to move into the top 10 because we're running short of time.
Oh my gosh!
And we're now into the top 10.
Yay.
And coming in at number 10, 37 points, Chris Whitty.
Bless him.
Bless him.
Bless him.
Are you one of those that's going to say he's just a poor, unfortunate character?
Just a pawn
the fact that he's some kind of weird loner who's got sort of slightly bulging eyes and a shirt that's too big for him.
I think with Whitty, he is a pawn in an evil game. I think he's been used as a tactical tool by the government.
And he doesn't have to do the job.
He's denying Chris Whitty his own agency.
Yeah, apparently
That's rather rude.
I believe he has his agency.
Do you think he's old and senile like Biden?
I do not.
The only accurate word you've used in that is tool.
Yeah. The fact is, if he didn't like it, he could walk away. He doesn't have to do that
I think
job.
he quite likes the attention, don't you?
Of course he does.
Yeah.
They all like it. They all
Next
love
slide.
it.
It's the bucks and the chips.
Next slide.
Oh, yeah, I never want to hear that.
No, but
again.
the way he's lying about Omicron, or at least distorting the truth.
Yes.
With the data the other day, when he was there with the slides.
I don't like Van Tam.
Saying this is what's happening in South
JVT.
Africa.
Yeah, who needs that?
Suggesting that that's what's going to happen here, even though their population is 25%
Nobody has an idea.
vaccinated.
Nobody really
I'm sorry,
knows.
but then he shouldn't stand up there and tell everyone they should be terrified, mask up, and, avoids certain
But
social
that's his
settings.
kind of job, though, isn't it?
Well,
No, it's
it's
not his job.
His job is to be the chief medical
He could say,
officer
"Calm down,
for the
guys, it's
government,
gonna be okay."
which means you
Yeah,
give them
quite.
truth, you give them evidence and evidence-based facts that
Yeah,
they can use
I agree.
in order to make policy,
I'm
not
with
to
you.
make some ludicrous. I mean, what about the last time? Do you remember him and Van Tam used to do those presentations? They'd
Yeah.
forget to start the graph from the previous July because it looked better if you started it
Yeah.
from September.
Yeah, you
You
see,
go,
this is
"Hang on
why
a
I
minute,
think it's part
you
of the
can't just
evil
keep
plan."
moving everything around.
You know what I would like to see at these press
What would you like
conferences?
to see?
I would like to
Come on,
see there
Carver.
be
facts.
a mental health expert and an economist up
Yes.
there as well,
I agree.
answering
Yeah.
the questions
I
that
agree.
mean
Yeah.
stuff to someone else.
And
to
Gary
those people.
Lineker as well.
And Gary Lineker just to laugh at
Speaking
and
for
get
the silent treatments.
You know what I'd really like to see is journalists asking the questions.
Yes.
The entire country screaming at the TV for them to ask.
Yeah.
Rather than, can you just not lock us down a bit harder, please? Are you sure you're going far
You sure you're
enough?
doing this
like the
fast
question
enough?
Please work from home.
Yeah.
Maureen from Skegness, who's
But, you
got
know,
a
the
very
que-
valuable question from her community.
Why is it no journalists?
And a local WI.
Saw that briefing on Saturday and all the other briefings. Why is it, what are we now, 2.5 weeks into Omicron, and you see all those journalists at those press briefings, why don't any of them ask this basic question? What does Omicron do to you?
I know.
What are the symptoms? Oh, well, it spreads
They
very
don't know.
quickly.
I know they don't know.
Yeah, but
What?
Well, I know
don't know.
people
It
with
doesn't
it,
actually
and
have-
it doesn't seem to have done much apart from make them feel slightly grotty
Yeah, well,
for a
that's
day.
what they say.
Yeah.
But
Like
the-
standard
but
coronavirus.
The
Yeah.
absence
Like
of
getting a
that
cold.
essential question.
Yeah, I've had
agree.
worse
I
colds.
agree.
Yeah, it's not even bad as that.
Those people queuing 5 hours round the block,
Yeah.
Yeah.
they don't know what they're queuing to get themselves protected from.
Exactly.
They just, Omicron, keep spreading. Every government minister, every single time, just says, it's spreading very quickly. It's frightening.
And you know
I was
what
reading
they-
the news
what
on the
does
way
it
here.
do?
Yeah, and you know what?
75,000 people will be hospitalised this Christmas.
Oh, the
It's like,
predictions
Maybe.
are
Really?
ridiculous.
Yeah.
I
It's
don't know if
mad.
we trust any of those predictions.
No.
So, as of the time of this filming, there's one death, which clearly Boris couldn't wait to announce. Yes, we've got a death. It must
It
be
did
dangerous.
feel like that, didn't it?
So,
Yeah, it
who
does
is
feel
this
like
death?
that, yeah.
What were they, 90 years
did they
old?
die from
Did they have
or with?
Yeah. How old
Yeah.
were they?
Yeah.
What's the
And
circumstances?
Chris Whitty should be
Maybe it's
telling
the
us
death
this
of his
stuff.
career.
And you know, yeah, they got very excited about
really
announcing.
can't stand him.
They got very excited about announcing the death, but what they haven't made any fuss about is that it is actually from South Africa now, officially statistically proven to be 29% less dangerous than any other variant we've had so far.
There you
We've had
go.
something like
But
600
I don't know what that
variants
means.
Yeah.
So we should all go out and try
What
to
does
get
that
it.
mean?
I
It
think,
means
I
just
think, I
sneeze.
think so. I
What
think
does
that
it
would be a
mean,
good idea.
29%
Here's what we're going to
dangerous?
do. We're
means
gonna-
just sneeze.
What does that even mean?
Well, I don't want to know what it means because we're running out of time. So we're going to have to go roughly
my
quickly
God.
through. Number 9, the NHS, 43 points.
Okay, the
NHS.
NHS.
Right.
Because-
For not doing what it says on the tin.
Because it's a COVID vaccination service.
Exactly.
The National
First and
COVID
foremost.
Service.
Yeah.
And it's
Right.
not working in almost every aspect that you can think of.
740,000.
From cancer
probably.
screening to GP surgeries
To PPE.
to PPE to
The administration.
the waiting times, waiting lists. They
Yeah.
reckon there's going to be 12 million people waiting for an operation.
750,000 missed cancer cases.
I mean, it's just not.
That's
I mean, I can't
horrendous.
believe how many people still go on and on. Starmer did it this week, didn't
Yeah.
he? The NHS must be
We're so
saved.
lucky to have
You know,
it.
we're so
Yeah.
lucky.
Sad
not.
saying, the
We're
most
paid for it.
important.
We're not.
Sad
We're not
saying,
lucky to have it anyway.
Sad,
It's rubbish.
Sad saying the most important face-to-face appointment you can have
You
is
know
for your
what,
booster
Emily?
jab. Is it really for me? Is
No.
it really my most
No, I
important
don't
one?
think it is.
You try saying that to someone who's just lost someone through cancer
Well,
or who's
exactly.
just missed a
Yeah.
diagnosis.
Exactly.
I thought that was one of the most offensive things I've heard during this whole thing. I mean, my GP was like getting into Fort Knox for the last 2 years. Now they're phoning me and texting me, begging me to go down there and get a booster.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They've been shut for 2
It's
years
all
now.
wrong.
Come
Yeah.
down here.
I know.
We need you.
Because they get money for it.
It's ridiculous.
30 quid a
Ridiculous.
jab.
Right,
Yeah.
they do,
It's
don't they?
literally-
They
Is that
are
what they're
anti.
charging?
It just
30 quid
shows
a
that
jab.
if you had market mechanisms in the NHS, it might actually make
Might
it
work.
work,
12
make
quid,
it
but
more
they put it
efficient.
up.
Might.
So
It
the
might
doctors
do.
were 12
All
quid.
right,
they
number
weren't that
8.
keen. Suddenly, oh, hang on, more money in it.
Number 8, 48 points. Sage.
Oh,
Well, they can get stuffed.
Very good.
Sorry.
Glad you said that.
For scaring the...
Go and laugh at my joke.
out of us constantly.
And also
Modelling, absolutely
every
wrong.
statistic.
Also,
wrong
how
and
annoying is it,
inflated.
right? How annoying is it when you get somebody on some radio station or some TV station, not on ours very
Not
often,
this one,
has to
obviously.
be said, so-and-so from Sage, who's speaking in a personal capacity. You're like, if you're speaking in a personal capacity, what are you doing speaking at all?
Is that
Yeah.
that
You know,
communist?
exactly.
Well, it's Susan Mickey, the communist, but there's any number of others. Every time they get anybody on from Sage, they're always speaking in personal
That's because
capacity.
they just like to be in the media, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, every
Getting
single
off on
time
it.
anything happens,
Yeah.
it's not enough.
No.
You know, we need to lock down faster. We need to be wearing more masks. We need to be distancing more.
So, but nobody,
you know,
nobody believes Sage anymore. Nobody takes them.
I don't think
They're
anyone.
modelling,
Yeah, but they're
modelling.
The whole
powerful.
thing's
They're
a disaster.
powerful.
They're powerful, but nobody believes them.
And when you criticise,
don't, the government do.
Oh, the government do, yeah, because they have to have them in.
When you criticise Susan Mickey and you say she's a communist, you know, they go, "How dare you impugn her integrity?
Yeah.
As if she'd allow her politics in any way to flavour her opinions and her diktats." It's like, yeah, she's a commie. Fire her.
There's going to be a lot of people with no meaning after this whole thing is finally over, I think.
Coming in at number 7, it's Insulate Britain with 56 points. We mentioned them earlier. It's great to see that they've now started jailing them, isn't it?
Yeah, now that they've been being sent to prison,
Good
they
riddance.
seem to have stopped all their activity. Send middle-class people to prison, and they really don't like
No.
it.
You know, the
So that's all
break-
we ever had to do.
But we do have breaking news on this group at the moment. The woman that was, that lovely middle class lady that was banged up, she has finally finished her hunger strike just a week before Christmas.
Oh, good.
Andy!
She didn't want to miss out on Christmas dinner.
So she lost a few
turkey.
pounds. Put it back on again.
Turkey.
Christmas pudding.
what was the
lovely.
hunger- what was the hunger
She
strike
wasn't going to miss
about?
out on that.
Well, because she didn't like being in prison.
Oh.
I mean, we should have just glued him in there and
Yeah,
left
she's
him in
still,
there.
well, I would just
How long
glue
was
him to
she?
the bed.
How long was she on hunger strike?
Well,
About a week.
allegedly, it was
It was
20
actually
So that's a detox.
It was actually a
basically,
diet.
isn't it?
Allegedly, it was 26.
Yeah.
Allegedly, it was 26 days, but I mean, I
Really?
think she might have been
Yeah.
cheating, and that's not fat shaming, by the way.
Yeah.
But I think she might.
But what wound me
But
out was the media got so upset that after weeks of these people blocking the roads, then one woman got a little bit angry and nudged them.
Yeah. She was
I know.
magnificent.
And it was this whole talking point
She
about
was
how
great, wasn't she?
outrageous it was. And I was
Yeah.
thinking, well, fair enough.
And the
A
way
friend of
that
mine
they...
knew the big lad on Wandsworth Bridge who grabbed them,
Yeah.
was
Yeah.
carrying them in a
Oh,
pot shed
yeah.
and dragging them
Yeah.
off the street.
Yeah, like-
I must admit, if I'd been stopped, I would have done
He was
exactly
there.
the
I
same.
would have absolutely.
But that woman having the hunger strike, that was the hunger strike that absolutely no one cared
Cared.
It's
about.
like, yeah.
Carry on,
Okay,
whatever.
That's another meal
Oh,
for
you've
another
done
day.
what a shame.
Yeah, it's hardly Mr. Nazanin Zagari Radcliffe,
No.
was it?
Well, quite.
No
yeah.
one really gave a...
Yeah, and
Oh,
the timing
shit.
as well. And
And
she
that bloke,
announced
Liam,
it.
whatever
She
his
announced it
name
when
is.
Nazanin's
Oh,
husband
Liam.
was.
Did she?
Norton.
Oh, for
Liam
God's
Norton.
sake.
Oh, yeah?
I mean, he was all
Good
over
man.
the place for a long time until finally he admitted that he didn't really care and his house wasn't insulated.
Oh, this is the guy
Doing
that
it-
you
he's
had
actually
out,
doing it
didn't
for
you?
God.
Yeah, they just keep walking out on
But
it.
it
It's a
is,
gift.
to go back to their middle classedness, it is the most middle class.
What have you got against the middle class,
Well,
Kev?
I mean,
Yes,
it's-
Kev.
He pretends he's not one of them.
Isn't it? To say, home improvements for all.
Yeah.
Get your house done up on the state. I mean, it's pathetic.
It is
isn't it?
pathetic.
But
It is
I
ridiculous.
mean, that Liam who constantly walks out at me, shame. He goes, it costs thousands and thousands of pounds to get your house insulated. I said, 600 quid down at B&Q, mate. And he
Yeah.
didn't like that.
He didn't
No, I
like
bet
that
he
at
didn't.
all.
I
That
mean, he doesn't
was
like it whenever
brilliant.
he sees you, Dawn. He probably
I
scoffs
have
at
that
the
effect
studio.
on a lot of people.
Yeah,
Don't like it.
it's true. Right, number 6. We're getting down to the nitty-gritty here. Almost the top 5. Sadiq Khan, number 6. 65
Endless,
points.
endless.
I mean, where do you begin with him?
Endless with the colouring in and...
Well, he's still
Where do you
closing
want
off
to
half
start?
of London.
Well, the whole Ulit thing is just a disaster.
Yeah.
So I've got mates who literally cannot even move their car from their parking space outside their house without incurring 15 quid straight away.
Yeah.
I mean, it is
That's
just...
ridiculous.
I mean, just talk to any cabbie and you'll find out why he's
Yeah.
playing.
He hates London and he hates motorists.
And he hates Londoners.
He hates Londoners
He
as
has
well.
a really old-fashioned idea about car owners. So
Yeah.
if you get some traditional Labour supporters who are like 80 years old, they go, "He's rich, he's got a car." And that's Sadiq Khan's view,
Yeah.
that if you own a car, you must be wealthy,
This is-
and
this-
therefore the political
And have Have we seen any of this investment he promised into the underground?
No,
or into public
this going
transport?
back.
Well, they were going on strike every 5 minutes.
Well, exactly.
Well, they're cancelling tube trains now because so putting women's lives at risk because they're cancelling late night tubes, so you can't get anywhere.
Brilliant.
But this is the same Sadiq Khan who travels everywhere in a company gas guzzling Range Rover, I believe is the phrase you have to use, and then travelled in a convoy of 4 cars with a security detail 4 miles down the road to walk his dog in the local park.
Walking Battersea Park.
Love it.
Hypocrisy.
Absolutely unbelievable.
I know. Who's paying for his 15 quid who led for all his ranges?
Yeah, well, quite. I think he's exempt.
I think he's probably exempt.
Is he exempt?
He's a catastrophe.
He's probably
Another
exempt.
short man.
He is just awful. He is.
Funny,
another
that's a
short
bit
man.
of consistency going on.
It's true. Number 5, talking of hypocrites.
Short men.
Matt Hancock, 68. You just can't
I
help
loved it when
laughing,
he
can
didn't
you?
get his job at Facebook. Was it
brilliant.
Facebook?
No, it wasn't Facebook. No, it was the UN.
UN. As the ambassador of God knows
May as
what.
well be
Somewhere-
Facebook.
And
They
they
work
said it was
together.
because of colonialism.
Yeah,
because
exactly.
basically the African leaders say, hang on a second. He's just been rejected summarily by Britain. How come you're palming him off on us? It's not good enough for Britain, but we can have him.
Yeah.
So he was...
No,
Hang on,
lost
in
that
which
job.
month was his sex scandal revealed?
I think that was probably longer ago than I
It was
than I
summer.
cared. I think it was
It was-
June.
yeah, it was
I've got a
June.
feeling it was June.
Yeah.
Was it this year?
It was definitely this year.
And now he's trying to worm his way back into
Well,
politics.
he's now
The UN
ludicrously-
didn't work for him. Now
Apparently,
he's seen everywhere.
well, I mean, he keeps writing these articles in the Mail on Sunday, which always begin with, people keep stopping me in the street. And you go,
Just shake you warmly by
nobody
the
is
throat.
stopping you in the street apart from to call you a complete and utter plank, or words to that effect.
I'd stop him in the street if I saw him.
And I mean, or how's your wife and kids getting on, Matt? You know, that kind of thing. But I mean, this is a guy who, because I always say, listen, you can't necessarily criticise people for their personal lives, but, you know, for a guy to turn up, knock on his wife's door and say, sorry, darling, there's a big piece of The Sun coming out tomorrow.
Yeah.
I don't think you can like it. P.S. I'm leaving you. P.P.S. I'm just going to go upstairs and tell the
He
kids
woke his little
before
boy
I
up.
before I
No.
leave the house
Really?
to go and shack up with Gina Lollobrigida. You know?
Let's say I think he's lacking in emotional intelligence.
I love that
man.
picture.
I don't think he's got any kind of intelligence of any
Emotional,
kind.
not necessarily.
I love that picture of him in his casuals the other day when it said he
Yeah,
looked
he's
like
got-
a villain from Line of Duty.
Yeah.
The fashion
Yes,
sense.
But he's on the comeback trail big time.
Yeah.
Well, he's
Massively.
been
Thinks he's
pimping
gonna get
himself.
another
Yeah.
big
He's
job
been
in
pimping
government.
himself out as the next prime minister.
Yeah.
That's
Oh,
what
Yeah.
he's been
I
telling
saw him
people.
on GMB the other day, and he was just. And then they had to repeat that really disgustingly cringeworthy moment of him having a little tear, a crocodile
Oh,
tear
don't
that
when
fake
the first vaccine.
crying.
I can't have
To remember.
politicians weeping. I'm sorry.
No.
That's not doing
They're
it.
all at it.
I mean, it's
At
not.
least Boris will probably.
You know, it's not the
cry.
X Factor. You don't just.
Yeah, but that would be
try
You know, he's-
and get into the next
So,
round.
so Philip Schofield's in trouble because he went on to Good Morning.
Oh, yeah, the
He went on to
dyslexia,
this morning.
yeah.
And
This
Philip-
morning, today?
Yeah, the show. It was a couple. It was last.
It's just a
before-
dyslexia.
Yeah.
He said, "Did you break the rules in the health department because you couldn't read them properly because you've got dyslexia?"
It's a stretch.
Yeah, he was criticised by
Right.
those.
No.
who-
There's been a flood of complaints.
complaints, yeah.
Roping your mistress is one of the weirdest
speaking of,
symptoms of dyslexia. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Surely.
exactly.
Maybe he was looking for a dictionary.
He was looking for something.
Yeah. Well, he
It
found it.
Sounded a bit like that.
There's been a dictionary
Yeah,
involved.
sounded like that. Number 4, Boris Johnson, 80 points.
Oh, he's lovely. I love Boris.
Do you?
No, he's been my
Let's just say
flank
he's
of the
lost
week
his way.
consistently.
He's definitely lost
I
his
don't think
lustre.
you know what? I don't think he's recovered since he had his COVID.
No.
I don't think
He doesn't
has.
look well,
Quite
does he?
genuinely, I don't think he's recovered.
No.
Apparently,
He
spends
just looks
apparently,
unwell.
Apparently, he can't stand to be anywhere near Carrie, so he spends every night down in the Downing Street office playing with his computer and eating really, really rich meals and staying up until 3
Well,
in the
pretending he's got
morning.
lots of memos to
Yeah,
read.
yeah.
And that's
Sorry,
why he
darling.
didn't.
That's why if you look at him now, they say, "Oh, you see him out jogging and things." He looks worse than ever.
He
now.
looks
Yeah.
worse.
He does look
Really
like
Yeah, he does.
So if he's down playing with himself downstairs, is that why he didn't
Sorry,
notice
go on.
any of the parties? I knew what I meant.
It's why he didn't know they were.
Probably.
He didn't know they were going on.
Yeah.
It's because he couldn't hear it. That he had headphones in.
So if he doesn't have anything to do with Carrie, how did she get pregnant? Kev.
Well,
Well, you know, you just have-
Insemination.
You only have to walk
Is that
past.
immaculate conception?
Matt Hancock.
You know, you only have to walk past. You only have to walk past.
Bugger
Boris
gets
and you
everywhere,
get
doesn't he?
pregnant. Did you not know that? You know, that's how.
Oh
That's how
God, yeah.
fertile
Well, how
he
many
is.
children
Yeah,
is he up to?
7,
now?
I think.
Okay.
God,
And then
yeah.
Has he
there
really got 7 kids?
Well, that's
'Cause
what
nobody really
he's
knows.
admitted to
was
7. I
more.
think.
with 7 and
I
counting.
think he's
Is it
admitted
really?
He
to 7.
admits to 7,
Yeah. I mean,
which
what is
isn't
the
very
estimate?
good for the climate.
It's not really very
No,
good for the
no.
climate.
Exactly.
Right.
Couldn't do that in China.
So he's got the same number of kids as they had illegal Downing Street parties.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
It's a very
Yeah.
interesting
Symmetry
number.
about
Number
that,
7.
isn't it?
And rolls of wallpaper.
Yeah.
Yes,
There is
indeed.
symmetry here.
Okay, number
the
3.
wallpaper was cheaper than a kid.
BBC.
God, the
This would be a
BBC.
good one for you, Kevin.
Yeah, go on, Kev.
BBC's
86 points.
BBC has turned into this kind of weird cult, where everybody works there. They're like a different species to the rest of them. And I was watching some programme with Laura Kunsberg the other day, where she's sort of wearing headphones, and some other guy's wearing headphones, and Robert Buckland, the former justice.
Podcasts.
Yeah, no, it's a programme.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah. So it's a live TV.
And they're all laughing at their little cosy little BBC jokes. And I thought, these people, they're just from a different planet. And the BBC gets further and further away from the rest of the population every single day. And they have to be stripped of that licence ASAP.
Well, no, come on.
People say, oh, the BBC is the best thing about Britain. No.
No, it's not.
Let me explain it to you. The BBC is the worst thing about Britain. BBC was formed as an exercise in social engineering to get the people to think the right stuff. And they still do. When the Queen dies, the BBC has to go into darkness for 24 hours and play sombre music because it is an agent of the state. This is nonsensical, antediluvian stuff that has to be ejected.
Well, also,
but does anybody actually even watch it anymore?
Well, yeah, I mean,
quite clearly.
They still get some pretty good figures.
Glued every
They still
day.
get some pretty good figures on certain things.
No, I really don't.
But it's one thing to say that they've got to be the state broadcaster, but then how do you explain BBC Three? How do you explain 65 local radio stations? How do you explain the massive number of people working on their internet? You just have too many people, too many special interests.
It's like a federal business.
Yeah.
Once you're in for life.
Well, I mean, and the head of diversity is on £267,000 a year for a 3-day working week.
Really?
And yet they're nicking my mum's TV licence.
Yeah. Well, you're lucky to don't put her in jail.
Makes
for
the
not
blood
paying it.
boil.
June Sarpong.
Yes, it really
June
does.
Sarpong, there.
She is the head of
Of course, there's all the
diversity.
Bashir stuff,
I like
wasn't there?
June Sarpong.
Yeah, Martin
She's not,
Bashir.
actually, to be
There was all the
Martin
Martin Bashir stuff.
Yeah.
This is still going
That
on.
kind of brushed
Yeah,
under the carpet.
and
And then, but also I think to a certain extent I agree with you, Kevin, because there's stuff like they're doing this drama on Jimmy Savile with Steve Coogan.
why are they
Seems like a very
Why are
bad
they
idea.
doing it?
That
I
doesn't
just
seem
think
like a
it's
very
a tasteful idea.
that's kind of atonement.
Yeah.
They're cleansing themselves of their sins by this drama.
Hold on a minute.
And lack of investigation.
But they shouldn't do it. It's such an
this is so tasty.
They're putting that together and they're putting trigger warnings on Dad's Army and Blackadder in case you're offended by it.
By
Or Little
fiction.
Britain.
Yeah, I know.
Which they've taken off completely.
And
Right.
apparently their Christmas schedule is exactly the same as last
Oh, it's your
Christmas.
favourite, Mike, Mrs. Brown's Boys. I
Yeah,
think.
it'd be rubbish.
who
I won't be
loves
watching any of
that?
that.
Yeah.
I'll be watching Plank of the Year and the
Yeah.
Quiz of the Year that we filmed yesterday.
it.
Right, we're down to the wire. Number 2, Sir Keir Starmer, 90 points. Top politician.
You mean the Prime Minister's most loyal servant?
Yeah, absolutely.
Always votes
Oh,
for
The
him.
deputy Prime
as he's
Minister.
known-
What are you talking about? We're going to vote
the
with
Deputy Prime Minister.
Yeah, what kind of a leader? What kind of a leader of the opposition says we're voting with the government because it's the patriotic thing to do? What are you talking about? What are you
What's that going to do
talking
anything
about?
to do with politics?
Well, it wasn't the patriotic thing to do the last time he was asked about vaccine passports, because then it was unpatriotic and un-British. That was what he said. But now apparently it's
Well, let's face it, it's
now
never
it's patriotic.
He's never met a fence he doesn't like sitting on, does he?
Yes, he
it's
must have a very sore bottom.
He must.
But
I'd rather
back
not
to-
go there. Luckily,
Thanks for the visual image in my head
we
now,
haven't got a
Emily.
lot of
He also
time.
gets the record for the record number of times that any person went into quarantine
Isolation,
due to
Five times.
5 times.
times.
And it was all at very convenient moments.
Yeah. Oh, you want me to vote? No, I've just got to
Well, he's also
quarantine.
the only leader who gets more popular the less you see him. So when Labour Party first started surging in the polls, he was off. You know,
He couldn't even
Soon as he
land a blow
reappears.
on Partygate and
No.
PMQs.
Yeah,
really couldn't.
absolutely. He has open goals all the time. He just constantly kicks it into rows, ZZ.
Okay, so we are now at the final denouement,
Oh, my
number 1.
God.
And I have to say,
Oh, I've got a good
Sir Keir
guess.
Starmer had 90 points. To give you some idea of how much this leads by,
Could you do a
the
special
winners,
voice, Mike?
the winners have
Should we have a drum roll?
got 150 points.
Whoa.
The
Which
winners.
is so
you
much.
gave us a clue there.
Winners, there's 2 of them. So I can say, actually, with all due respect, thank you to all of the people who signed up to this, and thank you to all of the planks that made the top 20. But the winners of Plank of the Year, similar, I think, to last year, are Harry and Meghan. Well done, guys. I mean, we were worried that they couldn't follow up last year's performance with anything better.
It was
But they've
awesome.
managed to do it.
They topped it.
They have
Let's
managed
hear
to
it
do
for the
it.
ginger and the whinger.
I mean, they have been
come on.
quite remarkable, haven't they?
Where do you even start with those two?
I mean, is there any chance that in the next 12 months, maybe they won't appear at all? as planks?
No, I seriously doubt. I think they will be continually.
How many lies do you think she'll tell this year?
How many days?
She won't be at the top last year, will she?
I think it'll be difficult.
Oprah Winfrey.
Some of them weren't lies. She just forgot.
Well, hold on. You forget where you put your keys. You don't forget helping to write a book. I mean, you know, it happens.
You don't forget weeks of consultations with your authors.
Also, when she claimed that her victory was a victory for everyone, a victory for you and I, the little man, as if she's not the most privileged woman in the world.
Emily, I'm stopping the lying press. Hold on a minute, love. It was a privacy issue. The only person who appeared to be forgetting what they'd said at the time, or lying as we call it in the trade, was you.
Yeah.
Well, and thanks to her, they may change the Human Rights Act, which is... So the Human Rights Act has within it this one clause, which is the right to privacy, brought in by Tony Blair, which people of power have been using ever since to stop newspapers printing unflattering stories on them, which is exactly what she did.
Yeah.
And because of that, because of her, she might like to know Dominic Raab is busy changing the Human Rights Act. So with a bit of luck, we'll get rid of the privacy clause, and that will be Meghan's fault.
We get rid of her.
Well, that'll be good.
And then there's Harry and his one-part podcast.
There's Harry's one-part podcast. This is also the year they did the Oprah Winfrey.
Is that all there is?
This is also the year they did
18 million.
the Oprah Winfrey interview.
One part.
The Oprah Winfrey, which included several stunted-up newspaper headlines which had never been written. They basically just made them up and complained that people had been writing these terrible things. Most of them had never been written at all.
And 13 demonstrably untrue. Her truths in that one interview.
Lies. That's what we call them.
Okay, I mean, let's not beat about the bush. There were lies, including the fact that, you know, the whole baby race issue, which made Oprah go, oh my God, never
Baby
go,
Archie.
really? And it's like Harry was going, yeah, it was once when we first started going out, someone, you know, probably just speculated what a baby would look like. And she was going, no, it was all the time I was pregnant, it was loads of conversations. It's like, at least get your story straight.
I know.
What about claiming that they're already married? We secretly got married. I mean, if you think about it, if that was true, that would have been preposterous. You know, that they sort of played a trick on the entire world. Well, you think we're getting married, but we're already married. And then even the Archbishop of Canterbury had to come out and say, that's not true.
Yeah, he came in the top 30, Archbishop Welby, but he didn't make it into the top 10, I'm afraid. You know, he was quite good. Anyway, so there we are. Another collection of absolute and utter planks.
That's not us, by the way. That's what people have just been
presented by people who are not planks, it has to be said. So Harry and Meghan, congratulations. Congratulations to everybody else. Thank you guys for being such good sports.
Thank you for having us.
Dawn, Emily, and Mr. Will Geddes. We'll see you next time for Plank of the Year. This time next year, but I suppose in January we'll be seeing you for Plank of the Week again. Have a Merry Christmas.
Happy Christmas.
Enjoy it.
Merry
This
Christmas.
is Talk Radio.